Hi, my name is Dale Cox. I'm a professional food scientist and the owner of Beakers and Bricks LLC. I worked for 23 years for companies like Kellogg's and General Mills. I worked on all kinds of foods that you would recognize. Like, for example, I developed a Cheez-It. I worked on Honey Bunches of Oats, Keebler cookies and crackers, Planters nuts, Gorton's fish sticks and fillets, all kinds of things that you'd recognize. Pretty much everything that you see in the grocery store has food scientists behind it. Even a lot of the main restaurant chains employ food scientists as well. It's a really good career path. It's part of what I do in my courses, is introduce that possibility. I had no idea that it was. I didn't find out about it until I was a junior in college. I wished I'd found out a little bit sooner. So let's get right into the courses that I have to offer. First, let's take a look at this one, Introduction to Food Science and Overview. Most of the courses that I have are for ages 10 and up. This one, the sweet spots junior high and between junior high and high school. At that age level, they should be able to do it all on their own. Some of the concepts get pretty deep, so the 10-year-olds might need a little bit of help. Some of them might be fine. But that junior high to high school transition range, they should be able to handle it all on their own if that's what you want. This course is a full semester course. There's a sequel to this called Water, Introduction to Food Science Water, which I'll show you in just a minute. And those two together are a full year of science that people count as chemistry or as an elective science for junior high or for high school. So this course, it begins with a chapter on food science basics. So what food science is, and food science is all the whys behind food. So like why egg whites turn white, why beef turns gray, why the same cut of beef, if you fry it in a pan, can be tough, but it's fall apart tender if you stick it in the oven for a few hours. We know what happens, right? We see it all the time, but why? How cakes and breads leaven, meaning rise. That's a very different process for both of those. How fermented foods work. Like, what are some examples of fermented foods? Yogurts, cheese, chocolate. A lot of people don't know that chocolate is a fermented food. Bread is essentially a fermented food. How does that work, and what does it mean? As you understand these principles, it actually can help you become a better cook. So it's actually useful science. So these food science courses that you take, as opposed to many of the science courses that you might have taken, this is actually useful stuff that you'll use throughout the remainder of your life. That's why I call it the useful science. My brand is edible knowledge. It's knowledge that you can eat. So you can use it to help you be a better cook and to keep you safe and make good food choices throughout the rest of your life. So we start out with a chapter on that, on what food science is, kind of what I was just describing, and then I get into a section on what you can do as a food scientist. There's lots of things that you can do. I work mostly in product development, but there's a lot of other things that you can do. There's food engineering, quality assurance, getting into food laws and regulations, for example, working for the government like the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, the USDA, which is the United States Department of Agriculture, of course, research and development. And then I use my own my own experience as a food scientist as an example, starting off with Gorton's, working at Post, and then here's a few of the products that I've either worked on or developed myself. These are just a few of them. Kellogg's, Malto Meal. At the end of each section, there's a What Do You Think section with journaling ideas and a chapter review. Assignments. There's a science primer for people who might not have a strong science background. That primer should give them enough to get through the course. And then there's a chapter on food processing. And I use frosted shredded wheat, which is a product that I actually worked on, where I take it from field to finished, all the way through, and how the food is processed all the way through. There's examples, or there's video links throughout the course where they're either videos of my own make that I reference, or they're videos that I've sourced and vetted from elsewhere. And I do have a clickable PDF on my website so that you don't have to try and type in this URL. After that, there's a chapter on proximate analysis, where I go through all of the main components of food, so water, ash, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and then I show you how to use the nutrition facts label to reverse engineer essentially what's in a food. And this is very useful as you go through, and I have him go through a couple examples. Then I get into the science of food itself, so chapters on all those main components of food: water, protein, carbohydrates, fats, and I go through principles associated with those. These are food science principles that you have seen every day but never knew that you didn't know. And as you learn what they are, there'll be aha moments all the time as you realize what you've been seeing, but just didn't understand. And again, this will help you become a better cook. At the end of each chapter, I have experiments that reinforce the principles that I taught. Again, this is the first course, which is an overview. So there's a couple of experiments that you do in the kitchen, and then there's a discussion at the end of each experiment where I talk about the science of what they just saw, just to make sure and help cement in their minds what it is that I was trying to help them to learn. Again, these what do you think sections with the journaling idea and chapter review questions. Carbohydrates, the same thing. Many different principles, and then experiments that you do in the kitchen. And proteins, also the same kind of thing. It's the same format as you go through. In the last chapter is fats, where I again present principles, and then at the end there's experiments that you do. I have a bonus section at the end. Part of my goal of this, again, was to help introduce to people the opportunity for becoming a food scientist. I've created several through already, even though this is a very relatively new venture. I have created several. This is an example of the type of curriculum that you would take at a university to get a food science degree. Again, I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in food science. And if somebody is curious, an exercise they can go through to help them understand what would be involved and how it would work to get a food science degree. It's actually offered at lots of different places. It's not just a few specific colleges. Okay, so that's the first course. The second course is water, and the cover looks like this. And again, this one assumes that you've already done the first course, the overview course. So this is the sequel, book number 2 in this series. There isn't any of the introductory stuff that we talked about, like what food science is and what you do as a food scientist. It dives straight into the science of water as it applies to food. There's lots of things, again, that you've seen every day, but you never knew that you didn't know. There's 16 more experiments that you do in the kitchen that help to solidify the principles that I teach here. So that's those first 2 courses. That's a full year of science, again, for junior high or for high school, as young as 10, but the sweet spot's junior high into high school. Okay, so this course, by popular demand, people wanted a course for ages 6 to 10 for the younger ones. So this is food science for kids, and this one is, again, ages 6 to 10. And it looks like this inside. And basically what this is, it's kind of the reverse of the other courses, which are, the first 2 are principles presented in depth, followed by experiments that reinforce what I taught. This one are experiments. You do the experiment first, and there's 15 of them. They're called messes, mess number 1. And you do it's a simple experiment you do first, and then at the end, there's a section called the edible knowledge, where I describe the science in a simplified format behind what they just saw. Again, there's video links throughout, and with a clickable PDF on my website. It's a lot of fun. People are having a lot of fun with this course. It's one of my best sellers, and I get a lot of good feedback for it. So I think your 6 to 10-year-olds would enjoy it. Now, I do have all of these courses online as well. So let me show you how that works real quick. So they're all converted to online, and you can access those through 3 different ways, really. It's all by subscription. You can purchase them outright. They are available for sale individually, but it really doesn't make sense to do it that way. The cheaper way is by subscription. And check there's good specials associated with the conventions, so check that out on the page that you had landed on. Let's take a look. We'll start with the last one we just looked at, Food Science for Kids. Yep, that's actually me when I was little. I'm a Star Wars nut. But it's been completely converted to video. So all of the lessons are on the left-hand side. I'll make this bigger. All of the lessons are on the left-hand side. And all you do is wherever you're at, let's see, we'll go to the first, or this experiment here, or this, this particular one. So you go to it, and there's a little red animated monster. Oop, I'll mute him. You'll recognize the voice, it's mine. I tried to do a voice to match the monster, but it just sounded silly, at least according to my wife, so I left it as mine. But the little red animated guy makes it more fun for and engaging for the youngest crowd. So I go through, and anywhere there's text, I describe what's going on. Here's all the items that you need. This is these are describing the experiment in detail. Printable, so you can actually print the whole thing. So you can take that with you into the kitchen if you don't want to have a tablet or your phone or whatever it is that you're watching in there. Alright, and then all of the experiments are also converted to video, so you can see exactly what you need to do. And you can generally see it from multiple angles, so it makes it a whole lot easier as you work your way through the course to see exactly, to make sure that you do it right. And don't have any unexpected goofs at the end. It's also there in picture format, so you can. That's all from the book. Now, all of my online courses they stand alone. So, for example, this Food Science Course 2 is the water course. Food Science Course 1 is an overview. Those are the same as, basically the same as these courses. And that you can do either the print or the online courses. They stand alone, so you can do just online or just print. A lot of people like to do both, so I actually give you 10% off the books if you subscribe. And a lot of people like to do that because the subscription is pretty cheap, and they do work well together. There are some advantages to doing these courses online. Alright, so here's Food Science Course 1. There are some differences relative to the print. There is some video, of course. That is not as much video as the kids course, and that it's not completely converted to video. But there is quite a bit. It's more the book, the text is all there. It's kind of like the book online. But then I have an audio component. So for example, this
food science can be defined as
is actually me reading the text. So this can be really helpful to This can be really helpful to people who are dyslexic. I actually put this feature in when I was getting ready to go to a special needs conference in Florida, and it's been very well received. People quite enjoy that. So that's for every section. There's that audible or that audio file that you can listen to. And then anywhere that there is a video link that would have been in the book, it's actually embedded in the course, so you can actually just click on it and play it right there. So it makes it a whole lot easier to access. That's one advantage. Now the other part about that's not in the book, well, here's the review. That's there in the book, but there's automatically graded quizzes and tests that are not in the print book at all. So that's one additional thing that's been added. Those are pretty much the differences. So the way that you access the online courses is through these subscriptions. The Hungry Student subscription actually includes 5 courses. Food Science Course 1, Food Science Course 2, and Food Science for Kids. Those are all 3 of them are together. And then there's 2 other courses that are only offered online. The All the Edible Knowledge subscription includes the Hungry Students plus another subscription that I haven't told you about yet, which is Edible Knowledge for the Curious Cook. And I can show you what those are very quickly. In these courses, like for example, here's one. I take a food and I pick it apart, and this is a growing series. I come out with at least one new one every month. But I take a food and I pick it apart and I teach you the history of it. For example, this is yogurt in here. All about each ingredient. So there's a lesson on probiotics, yogurt starter cultures, corn syrup, white sugar, gelatin, vegetable gums, skim milk. So I go through each ingredient and I teach you about what it is, where it came from, and what its role is in the food, what it's actually doing. Then I go through the processes So fermentation basics, fermenting yogurt, and then putting it all together. And then a lot of times the courses include making the same thing at home. So here I walk you through making yogurt at home. And then there's bloopers in just about every course. And these are just fun. I like to laugh at myself, so you get to see me screw up while I'm recording these, making these lessons. So there's 25 courses right now. This is as of April of 2022. I add at least one new one every month. So if you're seeing this later, you can expect quite a few more to choose from. I have 150 in the works, so I'll be doing this for at least 5 years, maybe 6, maybe even longer. We'll see how it goes. I'm quite enjoying it, but again, you can purchase a subscription to any of these 3 subscriptions. This is the best deal, all the edible knowledge, because it gets you all of them. Alright, I have one other offering that isn't food science related, and that is associated with my love of Legos. That's where my company came from. Beakers, my science background, and Bricks, my love of Legos. And I started off as an engineer, loved physics, so here we have Introduction to Physics and Engineering using Legos as the experiment portion. Now this course is again for ages 10 through high school. It's intended to be a full physics course for junior high or for high school. The same age group as my Introduction to Food Science and Overview and the Introduction to Food Science Water, where at ages 10 they might need a little bit of help with some of the concepts, but at that junior high to high school transition range they should be just fine with the concepts. I do go deep into them. There's a lot of shallow Lego stuff out there. This is not that. I actually do teach physics, and then they use the Lego bricks as the experiment portion. So I'll jump to one of the chapters. That's a good indicator. Okay, so here is the chapter on levers. So in this chapter, for example, I'll teach all the principles associated with the physics behind the simple machine lever, or the lever. All the different classes of levers, first, second, third class levers. So this course teaches Newtonian physics, which is the physics of machines, how machines actually work. So I'll go through and I teach you how each one works, the physics behind them. Again, there's video links, and I have a clickable PDF on my website to make it easy for you. How they work. There's not a lot of math involved, although I do go through the equations that make them work, and then charts so they can see exactly what's going on. Once I go through the chapter and have taught the principles associated with the levers, for example, on this one, I reinforce what I've taught by having them build and experiment with all the different machines that they learned about, and in this case, levers. So they don't just build them, but I walk them through experimenting with them. So once you get to a certain point, I'll have them experiment with it, work with it. And once they become comfortable with how it works, taking a few notes, I'll have them change it a little bit, which changes the configuration of the machine and changes the physics of the machine. So they're able to see and experience firsthand how physics apply in the real world in a real machine. And they work. I can continue to have them change it and work with it. And then at the end of the experiment, I have a discussion again, just to make sure that they understood what it is I was trying to teach them through that experiment and how it applies to what they learned from the chapter. There's multiple experiments because you build all of the different classes of levers, for example, in this case. And my son's arm. He's famous now. And you go through all of them. So here's the inclined plane, pulleys, the axle and the wheel. So again, you learn all of the principles. Here's gears. You learn all the principles, and then they're reinforced by building and experimenting with the machines. So this is a full semester course. I do have proposed schedules on my website for all of my courses, except for the kids one, which kind of is 15 experiments. People use that one for kind of like the fun science for the week. Do like one a week, and it takes you about 4 months to work through it that way. The rest of them I all have either 8 or 16 week proposed schedules on the website, because most people use these for a full semester, but some people will buy it for their kids to do something that's more fun. and still education through the summer, and they'll blow through it in a couple of months. So all of the bricks that you need are right at the beginning of the course, and they're all here. How many of them, and their design numbers and their item numbers. And if you didn't know the way the Lego identifies their parts, the designs can be the same. For example, this red and blue brick, they're both designed 3700. It's the same thing. They work interchangeably. But if you want the specific color, there's additional digits that specify that color. Now, of course, if you have, you can do this several ways. There are a few parts that are non-Lego parts. I sell that as a kit for $6.99. I sell the whole kit as well together. And you can actually save yourself about a third of the price, really. If you just ordered the parts, use this information to order the parts from these Lego sites, and also Bricklink is another site that you can use. And you can save yourself about a third of the cost, but it'll take you a couple hours punching in the numbers and finding all of the parts online. So just for your convenience, I do sell the kit as a whole. I do have this parts list also on my website, so if you want to go and see what you might be missing, have your child look through and figure out what they've got and what they don't, and then you can order just the parts you're missing. But I would still recommend that you purchase this from me. I don't make a lot of money on it, and it's for your convenience. You'll get a little frustrated if you try and do that on your own. Okay, so that's that. I hope you enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. People are having a great time with this course. I get a lot of good feedback from it. So that's pretty much it. There is a free gift if you purchase any print book that I'll send to you with the book in the mail. It's a $4.95 value. I do sell it on my website, so if you wanted to take a peek, you can figure out what it is. It's actually been quite enjoyed and is a useful thing you can use in your kitchen. If you have any questions, you can send me an email at info@edible-knowledge.com, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.